the first step to making our little rag doll is to create the body piece, pattern piece. I'll get it right in a minute. The leg piece and the arm piece. And this is all just really based on the size you want your doll to be. This is going to be a fairly large doll. I'm calling it medium size because I cut out one that was really large and I didn't want to do away with it. I just don't want to do it for this video, so I'm going to save that pattern. But I have the body from head to the bottom of the body. It's about 14 and a half inches, 14 and a quarter. Yeah, 14 and a half, that's about right. And the arm is about 9.5 inches, and the leg is about 12 inches. So it's kind of got a little stewy head going on here, but I like that. I kind of like the way it looks. And I did ears for this one. The doll that I made Daisy years ago, I didn't put any ears on it, just didn't even think about it. But I was looking up patterns online and how other people did it, and I thought they looked really cute with the ears. So width wise, let's see, the body, I kind of gave it a slight outcline. I don't know what you call that. It just goes out very slightly, but it's around 7.5. From ear to ear is around 9 inches. And the bottom of the arm is almost 2 inches, and I gave it a little incline. It gets a little more narrow as it goes along. I'm not going to do like a three-dimensional foot. They're just going to be flat little arms and legs hanging there. And the widest width of the foot is about 3 inches, close to it, about 2 3/4. What we need to do with the pattern pieces is we cut out 2 of the body, and I turned this fabric wrong side out. This is muslin. I like using muslin. This is unbleached muslin. I think I used bleach for Daisy's dolls before because it gave them really white, creepy looking skin. And I've gone ahead and drawn the face on the wrong side so that when I flip it I can still see through the fabric to paint over it, but it won't be on the right side of the fabric. So all of these pieces, I've folded the fabric right sides facing together and cut them out. So there's 2 pieces for the body, there are 4 pieces for the arms, and 4 pieces for the legs. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over and paint the face on. I'm going to give her button eyes, and the rest, the mouth, the nose, and the eyebrows, I'm going to paint on. So I painted the doll's face, and I wanted to come in and show you guys. And she's got her little button eyes. What I used to paint her face was acrylic paint. It's the kind that you can get at Hobby Lobby or Walmart. And what you need is a fabric medium or a textile medium to basically, like, you can use this kind of paint, which this is Anita's all-purpose acrylic craft paint. And then you would want to get a textile medium, which makes it not only it blends in better into the fabric, it's smoother, you know, to paint it on the fabric, but it also helps it to stay on the fabric. And you know, something my mama always taught me. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we can just go ahead and lay aside this the doll body and get our arms and legs. And you remember we've got 4 pieces, that's 2 for each one, and I've already got them turned wrong sides, right sides together. So what I want to do is just take all 4 of these to the machine and sew all the way around, leaving the tops of each one open. Okay, you can see I've got both of the legs and both of the arms sewn, and I haven't turned them yet because we have a rounded edge. I want to go in each one and just make some little clippings. And this is such a small area that I don't do the little dart in the clippings. I just clip. All I'm doing is clipping right to the seam, but I don't want to clip through it. Just around the rounded edges there. So you see you got this little clipping so that when you turn it, it's nice and round. And I used a 2.0 stitch length on the machine for this because I wanted it to be a really tight stitch, a really close stitch, because you're going to be stuffing this, and you know, if it's too loose or too big of a stitch, the stitches are going to show through when you stuff it. And I also made sure to back stitch at the top edge of each one so that when I turn it, it doesn't start to pull apart here. So now all I need to do is turn each one of these legs, and then I'm going to press them. Okay, you see I've got the legs and the arms turned and pressed. And some people might say, well, why do you press them? You don't really need to. It's just neater. I like it that way. I just want it to, you know, look good. And it'd be really hard to press after you stuffed it. But this is the stuff, and I have, you guys can't hardly see that on camera, but this is premium polyester fiber feel, and it's got all kinds of writing on here. Maximum resiliency and loft, perfect for fiber sculptures. Firmer feel, machine wash and dry, hypoallergenic, pure optic white, soft fibers. Okay, so anyway, we're just going to start by pulling a little bit of this out. And the tricky part is getting it in that little opening there. And Mama used to use one of these when she made her soft sculpture dolls. I guess that's what you call them, back in the 80s. But I think she had where she took a paper towel and some like masking tape and wrapped it around just to give it a little more girth so that you could really get that stuffing down in there. I just haven't took the time to do that. And I don't want to overstuff this, but I don't want to leave any open pockets with the stuffing. So we just want to make sure that we get enough in there to give it a nice firm body to the arms and legs. I'm going to stuff all of the arms and legs, and then I'll be back to show you the next step. So I've got the arms and legs stuffed. Now the next thing I want to do, just to make these easier to close up, well, maybe it will, maybe it won't, as I'm going to press the ends here. Now what I'm going to do with my Kenmore 12 stitch is go in and just close with a tight zigzag. I'm going to close up the ends of each one of these, just so that they, you know, they stay in place and the stuffing doesn't start to come out or anything. I've closed up all the ends of the arms and legs. Just clipping, this fabric tends to want to fray a lot. Now the next thing I want to do is to go ahead and attach them to the front side of the body. And I didn't really mark any place that I wanted them, so it's probably a good idea to do that though. I kind of want the arms to be at an angle, so that they kind of flop down whenever the doll's in a resting state. Now I'm going right at the edge of the shoulders here. I'm going to go ahead and sew the arms on first. I'm just going to make a stitch right at the edge of each one, and then I'll place the legs and I'll stitch those on. And I'm not doing a lot of sewing on camera today, So I've got the doll's arms sewn on. Now I just need to do the legs. And I meant to say that you need to overlap that just a little bit. You know, you don't want it right on the edge because they could work their way loose after a while. So now we're just going to take the legs and do the same thing. And I'm going to do these about a 1/2 inch to the edge so that they're not in the seam allowance of the doll's body. You can see this doll is kind of starting to come to life. She's looking a little weird right now. And this is where it gets really tricky, because I'm going to do a completely closed seam around the entire doll with the right sides facing together. It's going to be a process, but my intention is to sew it all together and then make a little hole right over where the heart would be, and that's where I'm going to turn it. And I'm also going to cut out a piece of black fabric in the shape of a heart to cover that opening that I do. Kind of have to do this part in stages. I think what I want to do first is I'm going to lay the right sides together, and I'm going to sew all around the neck and the head, and then I'm going to stuff the arms up in there and sew around there, and then I'm going to stuff the legs up in there and close it all up, and then I'll do my little stitch. I'll try to do most of that sewing on camera so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'm turning my speed all the way down to low on my machine because I really want to take my time with this part. I don't want to have a mess that I'll have to rip open with the seam ripper. And I've got my stitch length on 2.5. So just take my time and go around the head, making sure to go neatly around the ears and everything. Okay, the next thing I want to do is line up this side. And pin it and sew around it. The next thing we want to do is tuck these legs in as neat as we can get them to go in there. I have to do a little bending. We're going to tuck that. I'm going to tuck these in, and I'm going to pin it and sew around the bottom edge. So you see I've got this bottom edge pinned and tried to lay everything as neat and flat as I could. We got all of that side sewn together. Now this is where it gets really tricky. The closer you get to the end, the more tricky it is. So I'm just going to stuff these arms and legs in here. Alright, so you can see that's the doll with all the arms and legs stuffed inside. The thing I'm doing here is I'm just checking and making sure that the back and the front stitches are all you know, closed everything up the way they should. So here we go with another little tricky part. I'm going to need to, this is the front of the doll here, because you can see her little face through the fabric. I want to make a mark so that I can cut an opening. If you can see that little X there. And you have to be very careful with this part so that you're not grabbing a hold of any of the leg or arm that's in there, the legs and arms. And it's good to have a little pair of these scissors. You can use seam rippers, but if you let them go, you're going to puncture through the fabric that's in there, and you're going to cry because all this work you just did to get the doll body together is going to be ruined. You want a big enough hole so that you can pull everything through it. But you don't want it to be such a gaping hole that it's hard to close up. So you're just going to start working your way slowly in the doll, pulling everything through that opening. The ears didn't exactly do the way I wanted them to. Okay, so now what we want to do is start stuffing our little doll. This kind of, the little hole that I created here kind of turned into a big hole, and so that's a little bit of a problem for the plan I had. But I can fix it. I promise I can. Okay, what I want to do real quick is, best I can, I'm going to stitch up this opening just so it's not just a gaping opening behind that little heart. I'm tying off my stitch, and then I'm going to run this through the underneath so you can't see it, and cut a tail. That way I'm not cutting a tail right at the knot that I tied off. Now that we've got that closed, we have a much better surface to work with this little black heart that she's got here. And I have some red string, red, just regular thread, and what I'm going to do is start underneath the heart so that I hide the knotted tail, and I'm just going to go around with the, okay, I'm just going to go around with a regular old, I don't know what you call this stitch, I don't know, y'all. Alright, so I'm going to finish this up off camera because it's just going to take so much time away from the rest of the video. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how to prepare her hair.